I am your host, Amy.
And I am B.
And we're so stoked to have you. B is manning the chat for us today. So if you have questions about what we're working on or just want to tell us what you're watching on Netflix, jump in there. B will go ahead and relay your questions to me. And if you hear a little bit of noise in the background, just disregard it. It's suburban California doing its thing. We have wild parrots, there's lawnmowers, there's road construction. It's exciting, and yeah. But we're excited to have you hanging out with us on your lunch if you're on the West Coast, or in your late afternoon if you're in New York, or we have some people in the chat from Paris. So let us know what time it is. Costa Rica. That's kind of our parallel. Right. But yeah, we're stoked to have you. Today we're working on some lettering. I love doing lettering. I love doing custom type. It's so fun. We obviously make our own fonts here at Hoodzpah, which is great. And the way I got into that was just doing lettering for fun, trying it out, see what I like, see what works, learning the ropes. I feel like the best way to learn something is to just dive in and just kind of take it apart, potentially break it. Bee's learning guitar again right now, so she knows what we're talking about. But excited to have you all in here. We have some friends in. Harvey Fonda from New York. Hillary B. Ooh, salut. Yes, salut to you as well. Charlie, Sean David, hope you're feeling better after that vaccine shot. And Ben Averill, so many good friends in here. Kara's in! The streaming master! Kara is about to be a new mom. Congrats to you, Kara.
Congrats.
To you and Lauren. Amazing. Okay, we'll jump right into it. I'm going to go ahead and switch my screens to my design screen. And here's kind of a little sketch of what we're working on. And actually, let me switch back and I'll just show you my notebook because I'm a big fan of sketching first. Even if it looks bad, just get it out there before you get so precious with the pixels. So this is my sketch. Is it live? Is it working? And we're just going to pause real fast. And I'm going to show you my sketches if I can. So you can see. What's the letter? Type in there and ask if they can hear. Oh, you can see that I like to sketch it out and I like to get pretty picture perfect with it. I've got my Howdy up top. And I'll go ahead and go back to my design screen here. I've got my Howdy up top so that it's not reversed. And that's kind of like a funky kind of like lasso lettering. And I can show you some of my inspiration that I found on Pinterest. So I'm going to drag these images in. And I always like to drag my inspiration into my artboard just so it's like really easy to reference. So I'll drag this in. And I like to clipping mask it because I like to like just have exactly what I need. So I'm just going to go Command 7, draw a little rectangle around there. I love this Frontier Hotel matchbook. I want to do lettering with a little bit of illustration, and what I'm making is a little note card. So I want to make a little note card that I can send to friends, to family. I've been trying to write my grandma more because she's losing her memory, and so she doesn't remember that I've called her, but if I write her, she has a record that I wrote her, and that's good. So I don't want her to think that I've forgotten her because that's sad. So here's some of the inspiration of what I want my note cards to look like, and I figure if I like the note cards and enough people like them after I post them, maybe I'll get them printed. That's always fun. I love printed things you can feel in your hand. It's just so fun.
Yeah.
So here's some of my inspiration. I absolutely love the Mint matchbook. It's everything I want. It's got the script. It's got the chunky type. It has like just so much good stuff. And I like the minimal 2-color thing going on. So if I print these like with a screen printing or letterpress method, I'm definitely going to want to keep my colors down because the more inks you have, the more expensive, yada yada, you get it. Another one of these amazing inspiration pieces that I have is this Surf and Sand Hotel one. I like how some of it is outlined, some of it's not. I think this is kind of the vibe we're going for today. So I also have this image. Just for reference, I want to kind of stack my pieces of lettering in neon sign encasements. So we're going to kind of make our own little like Fremont Street strip, essentially. So here's what we're working with. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of organize these a bit, clipping mask this in. And I figure I can either do it to where it's like a folder for card, like a folder for a greeting card, 4x6, which would be like 8x6 in the end. Or we can do like a note card where it's like a postcard. And so there's like a little illustration at the bottom, and then it says something like hello at the top, and then there's room to write in the middle. So we'll kind of play it by ear, see how it goes. We might make 2 variations. I love to do that in design. Make a couple variations, like see how it goes, you know? I tell you to do that all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
You'll be like, how does this look? I'm like, try a variation where? And you're like, but how does this look? Can we just finish this?
But I like the variation idea. I get it.
Yeah.
And I usually like it on multiple different things.
You like it once it's done. The thought of doing more than one thing is like such a pain in the butt. But
It's a lot.
after you branch out, you're like, I can't believe that if I stopped, I would have not found this other option. So, okay, so here's our inspiration. And then I've pulled my sketch in. And what I'm going to do is I've got all my inspiration. I've got my sketch. I'm just going to draw a rectangle around it all, select it, and I'm going to move it down to my sketches and art, or my sketches and guides layer. So I like to use layers. It helps me lock things without having to like lock each individual object, which is a pain. So I can just lock and unlock that layer, make guides, that kind of thing. Okay, so first we're going to start out with this Howdy script that's super fun and funky and crazy. And I'm just going to use the pen tool. I love using the pen tool. And Ade Hogue and Bob Ewing and Mark Canesso actually like taught me a lot of really awesome lettering tricks that I use to this day. So we're just gonna basically draw an anchor point at the most northernmost, most southernmost, most westmost, most eastmost points of where I'm going here. Oh, accidentally got on the plus path instead of just the regular. And if you wanted, you don't even have to use the anchor points. You can just make like these kind of like jaggedy points at all of your points. Like here, here. See how that's the most leftmost? Maybe here on this diagonal. This is like the most far right point, most north point. I'm kind of like mixing my metaphors here with north, east, west, but you kind of get what I'm saying. And then I'll go up to here, and then I'm gonna do each letter separately. So I'm gonna go back down to this like base of my H. We'll get the diagonal in. We'll get the northmost, eastmost, diagonal, and and then we'll go in here. Sometimes it looks like a spider web and it's like easy to lose track, but I think we're kind of there. I'm gonna actually go up here, and then again leftmost, down here. Okay, this looks horrible, right? Like if I filled in this with black, it would look so weird, which it does. Horrible, right? Well, now we're gonna go in. I'm gonna turn this to outlines, and we're going to use our handles on the anchor points to make this look good. So if you go, let's see, Command C, it'll help you pull out your anchors. So you can pull out your anchors from each point, and you're just gonna kind of finesse it. So I'm just kind of adding points. I might take away some points once I realize what I actually need. Okay, so Shift C to get those anchor point handles. And we're just kind of finessing things. And then I use my white direct select tool, and I kind of like move things around, shuffle things. It's like musical chairs. Did you guys I'm a little older than you, but when you were in elementary school, did you have like bake sale?
Yes.
Okay, and did you guys play those games where it was like, there was like this thing called a cakewalk? Do you remember that?
No. What's that?
Okay, so like it was like musical chairs, but like whoever ended in the seat with the cake like won it. And it was called a cakewalk.
No, and I'm jealous now.
Yeah, it's a Kentucky thing, I think. But it was really fun. And then we had a dunk tank. It was like very Riverdale, like picturesque.
That sounds so cool.
Upbringing. They didn't have that in Santa Ana. What was the elementary school you went to in Santa Ana?
Yeah, no, they didn't have that in Santa Ana. No dunk tanks in Santa Ana. I don't think they had the budget for that.
I loved Santa Ana. I was sad when we left. But San Clemente was amazing too. We moved from, if you didn't know, B and I are sisters. Married in, which is why everyone, when we tell people we're sisters, they're like, what? How? It breaks their brain. And I'm like, just ignore what you're thinking and just accept the information that I'm telling you. But it's married in. We're married in sisters.
The best kind.
And yeah, we've loved each other ever since. But yeah, we grew up together. I think I moved in with you guys into Santa Ana like when gosh, what would it have been? Like sophomore year? No, junior year.
Yeah, you were little. I remember that.
You were littler.
I was the littlest. I was like
Which is
8.
funny because now you're the tallest.
I'm the biggest and the smallest all at the same time.
The biggest and the youngest.
We accidentally started a new stream, so I'm just galvanizing the people from our original to come join us here.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
I wonder how that happened.
I don't
Usually
know.
Ecamm is so great. I wonder if I pressed something wrong. Might have been my bad.
Sorry,
Might have been.
friends.
It's so weird that it didn't work, the link. I'll have to figure that out after. Honestly, live streaming is like just a constant humbling for me. Kara knows. I text Kara all the time, Kara Sykes. She's a designer out of Houston, and she live streams a lot on Behance through Adobe and amazing Illustrator. But it's like every time it's like, oh, my sound's not working. Oh, my screen's not working. Like it's just, and every time you go live, like we did, 5 minutes in, you're like, is this working? And you start whispering to each other. And you're like, I hope they can't hear us on the stream, but is this actually working? So actually, Mark Bowden's in here. He's a good friend. Mark, when you join the chat, it's now your job to text us and tell us if you can hear what the heck's happening.
He did. He sent the link for
thank
us.
Goodness. It's like, what would we do without friends? Because
Oh my gosh.
it's so funny.
Um,
Do we have a question in the chat?
yes, I think so.
Yeah, and if you all have questions about lettering or what we're watching, let us know. We want to talk to you just as much as hopefully you want to talk to us. Keep finessing this. Because it's like live streaming is fun and all. Like I love seeing the behind the scenes of someone's process. But at the end of the day, like I just want to talk to them. Like I'm tuning in half for the design, but mostly just for the conversation. Like I watched AIGA Raleigh. They've been opening up their events to everyone, which is so cool. That's one silver lining of everything being online now. It's like you can pretty much go to an event almost anywhere. So I watched Damian Williams, who's an amazing illustrator, and Matt Dawson, and there was a new person that I had never heard of, but her name is like Monica, and she lives here in like Irvine. She's like a Disney fan who does a lot of really cool fan art. But it was so cool watching their process and just hearing their story. They didn't do much live design, but it was more just like showing files and that kind of thing. It's pretty cool.
So several people are curious why you start off with straight lines and why you use this method.
Okay, so it's how you get, when you see, okay, mine is not a good example, but okay, let's show some Bezier curves. Let's see if we can see them. Does it show? I think I have to, let me turn my preferences on and see if I can turn on all my Bezier handles at once. Selection and anchor display, show handles with multiple anchors. We're gonna turn that on and hopefully it'll work. Okay, let's go here. Let's see if I can just, okay, there's some handles. Do you see my handles? It's kind of messy. Let me turn this off so that you can kind of see. Okay, this is the method that people use when they, when it's like Bezier curve perfect, like everything's a straight, everything's a, this is not a good example, but like this is a straight horizontal line. All my Bezier curves are complete right angles. This is the method that you do if you're trying to get that kind of a precision, is you start with just finding the most southernmost, northernmost, easternmost, and westernmost points on your illustration. And to do that, you can use your guides. Like if I'm looking for the easternmost point of my H, I can use my guide, pull it over here, and I see that it's actually right there. So now I can move my anchor point up there, and I can make my handles straight. So it's just a way to get that Bezier perfect lettering. Now, do I really care about that? Not really. But it's kind of a cool method, especially if you're trying to if your curves aren't working right and you're just like, why isn't this working? Sometimes using this method can help you just get things looking a little bit tighter. So yeah, that's why.
And Luke Reagan wants to know, how do you keep your letter thickness consistent? Is it all by eye? Any tips or tricks?
Ooh, how do we keep the widths consistent? So when I'm working in glyphs, which sometimes I design my logo files in there now because I love it so much. Like I was just working on a logo for my friends at Nicoletto's, and I was just cleaning up the one I made for them years ago. And I did it in glyphs because it's like the handling is so good. But for thicknesses in here, sometimes what I'll do is I'll just like make a box and I'll just kind of measure like, okay, my top widths are about that I'll make it red so I can see it. And then I'll make one for my width on my stems. And I'll just kind of like use this as like a little bit of a guide. So I'll make that. And then I'll just kind of pull it around with me as I go. And then my base is fatter. So I'm just going to kind of make one a little bit like that. And then I can go over here and I can pull it over here, option drag it, and just start kind of adjusting things to be a little bit more consistent. Because I'm doing lettering that's not going to be turned into a font, it can be a little inconsistent. And sometimes, you know, if you do it pixel perfect and everything is actually like perfectly weighted technically, sometimes it still doesn't look right. So it's like, get it right first and then eyeball it and make sure that it feels optically right. So that's that. And I'm just going to keep futzing with this. Sometimes I save all my like super like what would A-type futzing until the end because you can really get hung up on it. Bee's laughing because she's know him. She knows him. A-type for sure.
Okay, and then 2 people.
Okay, that's looking good. Okay.
Donna and Andy are curious about the best books for resources about lettering, typography, hand lettering, anything that you would recommend.
Oh yeah, I've got, and we'll put these in the show notes after we're done streaming. But one that I absolutely love is by Ken Barber of House Industries. And they have done some incredible fonts if you're not familiar with their work. And they've done like custom logo types and stuff for people like the Jimmy Kimmel, what's his late night show called? The Late Show? The Late Late Show? The Late Night Show? I don't know. One of those. Jimmy Kimmel's show. He's done stuff like that. He's worked with like big names. Like, I can't even remember them, but they matter. Everyone matters, but you know what I'm saying. It's like a feather in your cap a bit. But his book is called The Lettering Manual, and it's got so much just like basic, really helpful advice. It's called The Lettering Manual, and it's only like 25 or 30 bucks or something. So it's like super reasonable too, which I love. So definitely check that out. I recommend his book more than anybody else. And I'm like, I gotta become like his West Coast rep or something. I gotta start like reaping some of the bennies of recommending this book as much as I do. I say that, but then I have people who recommend our book and they're so kind. So really, I'm just paying it forward. Okay, so we're looking good here. I'm not using that bezier method anymore. I'm gonna like start actually using just like starting here. And then if you pick up your handle again, just go to this bottommost point. And I'm just gonna kind of try to be a bit more loose with it and just get it out there. And the cool thing about this lettering is you can't mess it up. It's supposed to be wobbly. It's supposed to be imperfect. Like if I was doing a sans serif, maybe I'd be a little bit concerned here because I might want that to look more consistent like Helvetica or something. But I mean, this right now, this is totally fine. I'm going to go ahead and switch this to outline so we can actually see what's happening. How do y'all like my Walt Disney W? I kid you not, for years, his signature, it was always my favorite when I was growing up. I loved his signature, and I was always kind of fascinated with signatures, like the Hanna-Barbera signature at the end of those cartoons, like Yogi Bear and stuff. Mm-hmm. Do you remember those?
I think so, yeah.
They had this really cool, like, Hanna-Barbera logo and signature. I think it was, and, like, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer used to have a really cool signature. But the Walt Disney signature, I always knew it said Disney, but I always read it as Gizney. The D is a G. Doesn't it look like a G? Like in my mind and heart, I knew it was a D, but it reads as a G. Think about it.
That's amazing.
Think about it and tell me what you think, chat. Okay, this is getting somewhere. Okay, so sometimes I'll turn it to outlines and then I'll just swap it right back, see where we're at. Oh yeah. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just option drag straight up so that I can see it on white without my ugly sketch in the background and just kind of see where we're going. The W is a bit light compared to some of the other things, so I can see that I need to maybe bring this down a little bit, increase the weight of that curve a little bit, get those rounds going, and then maybe over here we can just like move this up a bit and add a little bit of weight on the top because it's kind of a reverse weight that we're doing here a little bit. It's not a true, but sort of. Yeah, that looks cool. That looks good. And then we'll just kind of keep futzing. And this E needs a lot of help. Wow. The one cool thing about live streaming, I was talking to my friend Paul Hutchison the other day. He runs a studio called Hype Type Studio. And he was like, how do you talk and live stream at the same time? I was born for this. Everything I do is too fast, too much at once, too many things at once. When we were walking in New York, we went back to New York City for a dribble hang time. And it was the speed I'm used to. Too fast. But I like doing stuff like this because it helps you not hold things too precious. You're like, people are watching. I just need to get through this. I just need to show them something by the end of this hour. And the pressure, it's good. I like it. I like the pressure.
You do work well under pressure.
I like it. Until I start cursing and throwing things. You've been doing live streams too, B. Do you like them? Do you like them because it helps you kind of like push through? You've been doing with your friends, like your drinking draws.
Oh, oh yeah, that is fun.
Is it? That is fun. I think
it is fun. It is fun unless you get into a room full of people you don't know, and then it's a lot like this where I'm just quietly observing.
Mark texted me, we're a mutual friend of ours, Mark, in the chat. He tricked B into going to a drink and draw with a bunch of new people because she only likes to go to the ones where it's like 4 people that she knows. And I'm like, B, you gotta branch out. But I get it. It's scary. So he was like, oh yeah, like come to this drink and draw. It's just the crew. And then she got in there and it was like
so rude.
15 people. Which honestly, I guess if you had, I don't know. It's a good thing that it worked out well and everybody was really nice. But everyone's so nice. She went to one with the crew from Creative South. And they are just so kind. So he didn't set you up for failure because he knew everyone would be super cool.
Yeah, he never does. I have problems doing new things.
It's scary. It's scary. New never seems better.
Never. At first. It's true. So there's a question from Caruso Design. How do you handle initial proposals for clients, and do you have a generic PDF or presentation?
Okay, awesome. Good question. What was the name again?
Whoop, it just flipped. I think Caruso Design.
Caruso Design. What's up, Caruso Design? Thanks for hanging. Okay, so for proposals, usually at first it was really hard because we were still kind of figuring out our rates, figuring out our prices, figuring out like what our ranges were that clients could support. But we also thought was fair, so for a long time when you're freelancing, it's like you think you're worthy of a certain rate, but a lot of clients aren't willing to pay that yet. And so you're kind of working your way up, proving your worth, getting your portfolio up to speed, and then you're able to finally charge the rates that you want and you deserve. But once we got our rates dialed, we started making decks. And I swear to you, I don't know where I was before I started making decks for things, because once you have a template that you can start to kind of plug and chug, it just saves you so much time. Instead of creating a new deck from scratch every time, gotta have a template for that. So now we have a template that we use for, it's like I just open basically a project that is, usually I don't open the most recent one. I open one that's for the project that was most similar to the one I'm about to quote. So if I'm quoting a logo with like packaging for a food company, I want to find the last project I did that had packaging and logo and branding work. And then I just copy that, adjust the numbers for the client, adjust the scope as needed, and I save as, update the portfolio section. I usually include a few little portfolio pieces that I feel like will show what looks good. Because sometimes the person that's asking for the quote isn't the final say on like what gets approved, what, the art director maybe isn't the one asking for the quote. Maybe it's like the project manager, or maybe it's, somebody else. So I like to include some work just in case they're showing it to like a C-suite or an art director or something, and they can see, oh, these people do great work, in case that person doesn't pull up our website. So yeah, making decks is great. You can include questions that people ask you a lot, that you have to take the time to email. All those kind of things that people are constantly asking, just streamline that by putting it in your deck so that you're answering their question before they even ask it. So things like, how long will this take? What's the payment plan? Things like that. Those are things that you can include in your deck. And we actually sell our deck that we use online on our shop. It's called the Project Proposal. And look at the reviews. It's like 5-star reviews, man, because it's so handy. It really works. And that's why we shared it, is because it changed the kind of clients that we got. Like we went from kind of like barely convincing clients that it was worth it to showing them that, hey, we have every step of this project. We know exactly what's going to take place, when it's going to take place. This is exactly what you're delivered and exactly how it's going to go. And it makes them feel safe and warm, like a hug. Safe. I'm imagining that gif of Betamax going, you know, to the, what's his name? But yeah, if you want a deck and you don't feel like building one, go ahead and check out our deck. I swear by it. I'm biased, but I swear by it. And there's some other people in there that we didn't pay that left interesting reviews that'll be helpful.
Another question from Jenny Craddock. Are you familiar with the plugin for font self? If you have, what do you think of it in comparison to creating a font by hand?
Ooh, okay, font self. I really want to get into that. I remember when I first checked it out, it was like a bit more basic. And I think that's great that it's basic because it's lowering the bar of entry to try making a font. And that's really great. So I remember when I checked it out, it's an Illustrator plugin. And you basically just create the files in Illustrator where you're already comfortable, and then you can export them as an OTF or TTF or whatever it is. And it's really easy. It's kind of like one and done, kind of like exporting assets. Now you can do that in Illustrator. And I was talking to Taylor Cashton, who's in North Carolina, a designer, great guy, and works with AIGA. And he said it's come a long way and it's actually super robust. You can do kerning, you can do just a lot of the finer details that I really liked about glyphs, and was the reason that I chose glyphs over font self. But font self is great if you just want to see like, hey, do I like making fonts? Is this like something I'm interested in? I just want to try it. It's like a really great low barrier for entry because it's really cheap compared to glyphs. Glyphs is, I think, like $200 for the mini, and it's totally worth it. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's totally worth it. It's a one-time payment, and their support is like incredible. Like, the guy who designed the app is in the chat room, like helping people solve their problems. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. So like, if you have a problem, they're there to help you like on the spot. There's a lot of reasons why I do like it, and it just has a lot more control. And it's like got a lot of fine tuning things, which is cool. So if you try font self, you're like, oh my gosh, this is great. This is totally up my alley. Maybe you export like one font, test it with your audience, see how they respond. Then you might say, okay, I'm ready to pony up and pay for glyphs. And they have a 30-day trial. Got to do that 30-day trial.
That's the best.
Got to take advantage of that.
Always.
It's like I bought a new iPhone and then you bought an Apple TV, and we were trying to like
get the free year.
Yeah, get the free year,
Apple
but like
TV.
so that they didn't overlap. I'm like, okay, you activate yours, and then I'll wait, 2 months to activate mine.
I know. I think I pushed it I think we're at least a month apart.
And there's like a time frame though. Like you have to do it at a certain
90
moment.
days.
90 days.
I did it like on the 88th day.
That's hilarious.
Steven Stein wants to know how we feel about the Friends show reunion.
Okay, I heard about this. This is sacrilegious. I'm about to drop some sacrilegious opinions. I didn't care about Friends for the longest time. I did not care. I could not have cared less about a show. I did not understand the hype. I did not get it. And then I watched it recently, and like almost all of my opinions that I held so tightly 10 years ago, I was so wrong.
Phoebe?
I was so wrong.
She carries that show.
It's all about Chandler. Here's the thing.
Okay.
It's all about Chandler.
But also, it's about Joey and Phoebe.
Joey's hilarious. Yeah. Oh, and Monica, I've never identified with someone more.
Yes.
Just like, oh my gosh, she's so wound tight.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, she cracks me up. So anyway, how do I feel about it? I'm excited. How do you feel about it? I think it's going to be good. I get worried though. I have this thing where like, I get worried when people try to pick something up that was so perfect in its time and like bring it back. Like they bring back movies and try to remake them or like do a sequel. And it's easy to just straight up ruin the magic. Totally. So I get worried about stuff like that. Like they're bringing Party Down back, which was one of my favorite shows. It's like a group of like LA, people in LA who work at like a party. What would it be, like a party service company? Like when you have a party at home or for work and you hire a catering staff, that thing. And I used to work as a caterer sometimes, and it's interesting work, and you meet interesting people. So it's like a really funny show about like, and of course they're all like actors or writers or comedians on the side. So it's just really funny, but they're bringing it back and I'm kind of scared. I really don't want them to mess it up.
Natasha Priya wants to know if you guys ever want to do a lettering or a custom font course.
Natasha Priya, what's up? Natasha's in our freelance and business and stuff course, and she does amazing work, and it's been so cool getting to know her. But Natasha, I would love to do that, and I did one. I did kind of like a test run of a basically like intro to glyphs workshop. So it's for people who like already kind of know a little bit about lettering and kind of have a little bit of experience like drawing the letters like we're doing right now, and they just want to turn those letters into a font. And I did it, and it was super fun. And I kind of want to go back and revisit it and turn it into an online course now that we're not traveling as much. And as much, I mean at all. So yes, I'd love to work on that, Natasha, and thank you for reminding me, because there's actually a lot of really awesome tutorials out there. I think it's Matt Smith. He works for Louise Feely, and Louise Feely. She's great. Her work's great. She's a legend in her own right, and he is a designer for her agency, and he does incredible lettering and type, and he has a bunch of free YouTube videos on how to use glyphs, and it's like he knows glyphs. Like I know glyphs, but I'm not like a tools and like specifics person. Like I'm like I work a lot on instinct, and I'm more like it's about the end result as far as I'm concerned. This is not engendering a lot of confidence in anyone, but that's just how I like to work. But he knows the ins, the outs, like the rules, like everything you want to know, he knows. So look him up on YouTube. He has some like amazing free tutorials. But here's hoping that I can get my butt into gear and actually get our class up and running.
Okay, Hillary B has a question. The thing with the bezel curves being all horizontal and vertical gets super tricky for me on rounded end points. Any tips for that?
Oh, it's so true. There's actually a good practice, if you will, for practicing your bezier curves is find a piece of type that you like, find a font. Just find a font. Like if we type hello, exclamation point, and we find a font we like that's got rounds, so something like, I don't know, Beverly Drive. I don't know, my own font that I just re-released. Was that smooth? Super smooth. Change case, we're gonna go title case. Just zoom way in, make it really big, lock the layer, like you can bring it down onto a locked layer, and then just get out your pen tool in a different color, like a hot pink, and just practice tracing it. So the straights are obvious, but like say you want to practice your rounds, go on this E, and I give you full permission. Do this on my font. And just start practicing. See that curve, that anchor point was going out a little too far, so I need to adjust that once I'm done. But just start drawing points and adjust it later. Just get somewhere. And you can practice by starting just making points, like I said, at the most southernmost, northernmost, westernmost, easternmost points. So this is the farthest down at the bottom. This is the easternmost, going straight down. This is the furthest at the bottom. And just practicing your curves. And then you, like I said, you can go back in and add the curves by Shift-C and just adjust the handles after the fact. But just tracing fonts that already exist, not to claim as your own, not to share as your own, just to practice. It's such good practice. They made me do this at my first job because I learned how to design through apprenticeship. And my boss made me do this. He made me retrace logos, not only for practice, but because all of our clients at this magazine coupon clipper only had their logo as a JPEG, a low-res JPEG. So I had to recreate at least 100 logos, at least in my time. But it was amazing practice learning the Bezier tool. So instead of him doing it, he had me do it. I should have you do that.
You've told me to do this before, yeah. I've been instructed.
I believe you've told me to do this. But it's amazing practice, and it's a great way to learn how other designers are placing their Bezier curves. Another way to study what people do, go ahead and just take this font, option drag it down, go up to Type, Create Outlines, and it'll show you where they're placing their Bezier curves. There's a curve, and you can kind of study, what are people doing? How are they using these curves? How are they getting these really nice angles? And that's also really handy to kind of see how they're doing it. And then you can go ahead and trace over the top. But it's such good practice. It sounds boring, but that's how you get really comfortable with it. You got to practice. You got to be like Kobe, shooting those 100 shots before the games. Okay, so this Howdy lettering is looking really cool. I must say, I'm like, I can't believe this turned out this well. Sometimes they don't turn out the way that you want. This is going good. Okay, so I'm going to move that out a bit. So what I want to do with this is I want to like make it on a sign, and I want it to look like a neon. So obviously this probably wouldn't be a neon in and of itself because it's got a lot of mixed with variation. And I just don't know if that would lend itself well to a neon sign. But let's say that this little hat icon was a neon sign, and we'll illustrate it as such. And we'll put the Howdy lettering on like a kind of like a background, and then we'll just add like little twinkle lights on the outside. I think that's what we'll do for that sign because I want it to look, I want all of these hi, hello, howdies letterings to be staggered like neon signs on Fremont Street. And that's the goal. That's the vision. So I'm gonna make my little cowboy hat, my swoopy cowboy hat, and I tried to make this look really loose. I wanted it to feel like somebody just doodled it on a bar napkin. I like when things feel loose. It's really hard for me to design this way because I'm a little bit OCD. I don't know. I don't think I can claim I'm OCD because I've never been diagnosed, but it feels it. It feels like I get stuck on the details very easily. Just gonna adjust that a little bit.
We have another question about from Khalif. How are we feeling about the Lakers this year? Too bad about Brown and Brown.
Oh, Khalif. I was so excited because I'm like, repeat, baby, give us the trophy. And I always speak too soon. And I'm just vain enough to think that that had an effect on LeBron. That statement directly set off a butterfly effect, and the universe retaliated, and they broke him. So I apologize. No, I'm kidding. But I was so worried. I was like, man, I really wanted to repeat. I wanted to like feel that feeling again. And I wanted to do it in not a bubble scenario, even though it's a shortened season, because you know everyone was like negating the win because they were like, it was a bubble, it was easier. I'm like, if anything, it was harder. But I just love that the team's winning percentage is actually up without them. That means the bench is doing what they're supposed to do. That means it's a team effort, and I friggin' love that kind of underdog story. It's boring when you've got a super team like the Nets, and I was excited to get AD and everything, but I was worried that it would take some of the magic out of like the team feeling. Because sometimes when you get those stars like Kawhi going to LA, it's kind of like, oh, now it's the Kawhi show. And I just don't, I like it better when it's like, it's a team thing. It's about everybody. And that was Sports Hour.
And
the Sports Minute. That was the Sports Minute with Amy Hood.
Arutza wants to know if you draw daily.
Oh, Arutza, I wish I did. I think that's such a great practice. And for a while there, when it was like mega lockdown, we were going to the beach a lot because it was like a safe outside place with lots of space. And I was like live sketching the beach. And it was such a nice, just like quick practice. Again, not holding it too precious, just getting something drawn every day so that you feel creative outside of client work. And I really want to start doing that again because it really felt good, and it's just such a good practice to get into. I mean, that's what Lindsay Victoria Lee does. She does every day. She does a lunchtime like drink and draw hang with her people, her Patreon people and her Instagram fans, and it's just so cool. Okay, I'm not sure. What do we do? Does this come through? Is that kind of interesting that comes through, or do we just stop it where it was? You know what I mean? What do you think?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh. It's like somebody else.
Like, should that go through like that? Is that interesting, or is that kind of like weird? Also, I'm very concerned we have a phallic. Is this phallic? Mark will know. Have we gone too far? I don't want anyone to say there's a penis in this.
I like it open.
Okay, that's
yeah,
nice.
I like it open.
But now it looks really like an upside down.
I'm like, which way is it?
Laying on its back.
No,
Okay.
it's definitely
No,
you could make it more like roundy,
Yeah.
like less
how would
tall,
we?
more short. I don't know, or wider.
Okay. Well, you know what?
But
Let's start
I do
here.
like it.
Let's start here.
Open.
Okay, I'm gonna go to my, what do they call this? Width taper. I guess like the width panel, variable width profile. And I'm going to taper it a little bit. And sometimes if the taper, like I usually use that taper, that's my favorite one, but sometimes that just doesn't cut it. And I'll go over here to my actual width tool. This thing is so cool. Like if you want to like draw some monoline text and then test out this width tool, if you just click and drag, you can change the widths. Like I want it really thick there. Let's do it thinner here. Actually, maybe thinner here first. And then it'll get thick again on this width. And then thinner on the bottom. And then maybe it'll kind of, I think it needs to get thinner around here just so we can read that loop. And then get thick again up here. Okay, so that adds some real personality, doesn't it? That's really fun. And it's not as neon-y, but
I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I think it's cool. Okay, just gonna increase the width there a little bit on that brim. And oh, I know it'll make it more look like a hat and just make sure that no one has any confusion.
There was lots of
Okay, did they say it was? What do they
Mark
think?
said nobody stand on their head.
Okay, exactly. Okay, so what we can do is, what if we draw a little feather? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a little feather.
A
hat with a feather. So maybe that'll help it look more like a hat. So we'll just draw a little feather here. And it'll go like that, I think. Okay. And maybe that helps. Yeah, that does help. And that feather is a bit garishly large, so we'll just scale that back a bit. Kind of go like this.
Scott Snyder said at first, I was thinking it looked like the Arby's logo, but I think you've got it different enough. Their logo totally looks phallic. Never noticed that before.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh, Scott Snyder in the house, one of my fave photographers. There's so many amazing photographers, including Patrick Yannock, but Scott I specifically love because we work together so much. And he's just fun to work with. And that's, I mean, an amazing photographer and fun to work with. That's like, you hit the jackpot. But I actually, Scott, it's funny that you say that. The Arby's logo, the old Arby's logo is one of my favorite logos. And I was so sad when it got caught in that homogenized zone that we all fell into in the 2000s because that thing was so cool. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. This is neat. I love that feather and I hate the feather at the same time.
It's almost
but it
like,
is helping. Yeah. You know what? We'll go with it for now. We just got to keep moving.
Just keep going.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and just create 2 different artboards so that I can test out a horizontal and a vertical. And then we'll kind of see like what do we like, what works. So if I did this horizontal version where you would like right in the middle, where it's almost like a notepad, I want to give myself some guides of like what to leave open so that people have room to write. So I'm going to go ahead and just like create a little die zone of like what should be open. And in fact, I think I would just keep the whole illustration to the bottom maybe with like a little bit at the top. So let's say that that's my safe zone for writing. I'm going to go ahead and add this to a new layer that's on top of everything else, and I'm going to lock that layer so that this guide is there, but I am not like constantly accidentally clicking it, which is the worst. So we're gonna lock that, and we're gonna start building our little scene kind of like this or this. So I think what I'll start doing is just maybe creating some like rough outlines of like where some of the signs could go and what shapes they could be. So like I've created some rectangles. I'm gonna go ahead and create like this. I'll fill these in with pink so that we can see them a little better. And these are just gonna help me know like, okay, what are some shapes I could use to make my little signs? So this one can be like an oval down here. And then I love this like Royal Albert Hall one, but I like this golden goose one where it's like, that's what I'm imagining is like a big hat sign and then we're gonna put the hat in it. And then, I don't know, stick with me and let's see how this plays out.
But first, a word from our sponsors.
Oh, okay. Today's episode, today's stream is brought to you by our sponsor, us. We have a course. Natasha's in there. It's basically a freelancing course. If you are interested in freelancing either part-time or full-time, and you're just kind of unsure, like, am I doing this right? How do I handle taxes? What kind of business entity am I? We cover all that stuff. On top of that, we cover writing proposals for clients, quoting them, garnering trust with your clients, all these things that are kind of like things that you hope to learn across like maybe the 5 to 7 years that you're working. We're hoping to whittle it down and put it into a course that makes it easier and makes it so you don't have to wait that long. So if you're interested, I'm going to play this quick ad and yeah. All right, you all, we're getting down to it. Pricing. Contracts are your bodyguards. They are the Kevin Costner to your Whitney Houston. Passive income. It's the dream. Project workflow. How do you find your product? This is biz dev, baby. Clients. Do we love them? We want them. What the heck is a retainer? Branding yourself. We're talking about positioning. Setting up your business. Huge shout out to Johnny Niddle. Johnny Niddle is our composer who worked on the score for that, and he did such a good job. It's like surf rock. It's just everything I love. Surf rock, rockabilly, country, all the good stuff, all in one song. And when I sent him the playlist, Jen made this playlist. And we were like, okay, this is kind of the stuff that we want. We want it, like, think a little bit Led Zeppelin, a little bit Eddie Cochran, a little bit like just Dick Dale, so all over the map. And he managed to just like put that together and create something awesome. So thank you, Johnny Niddle. Okay, back to design. Okay, so I've been kind of just making some rando shapes, and this shape over here is pretty flippin' cool. Like I said, so like maybe we just kind of make something here. Like I'll just kind of create a couple of like oblong shapes, and then we'll try to make this into a cohesive like sign shape, something interesting. So I'll go ahead and use my Pathfinder tool, which is like one of my faves. And I'm just going to pull all of these different, ooh, and I love this Stardust one. This kind of like Weeping Willow effect. So I'm absolutely going to use that. So we'll kind of create a little Weeping Willow shape, and these will be my guides. So I'm going to copy all these, and I'm going to drag them over. And I'm basically just going to kind of like roughly throw them up around my border, because this is where I'm trying to like throw in some of my text. So basically, like I was saying, this is going all these different like hello, how's it, hey, how's it going, hi. I'm going to letter those all out and then put them in neon signs and then make a little scene. And then I'm going to hopefully print these out and send them to people. It should be great if it all goes to plan. Yay. So here's my little waterfall. So I'm just creating little guides for myself. And I find that making those little constraints for myself when I'm designing just help me to move forward faster, instead of focusing so much time on this Howdy piece and like trying to get that sign perfect, being like, okay, like here's a general idea of like where things could go. Let's just get rolling already.
Do the damn thing.
Let's just do it. Jeez. Quit talking about it.
There's one question from Lindo.
Lindo! What's up, Lindo? Lindo's also in the Freelance and Business and Stuff course, Slack. He's fun. He helped me today with my computer problems.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He says he's been noticing that when you delete points, this was earlier, the shape stays closed. What key combinations for that? Okay,
so when you're using your pen tool, so if I go to my pen tool, and it's funny, it's like when you drive and you're trying to teach someone how to drive and you kind of forget what you're doing. I'm gonna have to like figure this out real quick. But when you're drawing a shape with your pen tool, let's say we're drawing something weird like this, don't know what this is. But now if you're still using your pen tool, if you use the plus key while you're using your pen tool, you can add a point. And if you use the minus key while you're using your pen tool and you click it, you can subtract a point. And it just subtracts the point on the path, but doesn't break the path. It's incredible. Your key commands are your best friends. So if I go plus, I'm adding points, and I'm in my pen tool. And then I can go minus and subtract points. It's pretty cool. And this is a kind of cool trick. So say you created a really complex shape, but you were like, there are way too many points on here. I need to simplify my shape. I have this thing called Astute Graphics installed, and I have this thing called Inkscribe. So you open up Inkscribe and you can just click on this Smart Remove point. Oh, not on the whole thing. Not on the whole thing, just on one thing. Like say here, I'm like, I don't need this anchor point. So if I go to Inkscribe, I can just delete that. And it maintains the curve as best it can. It's really nice. It's really great for lettering if you're trying to simplify your lettering points. So anyway, I use that sometimes too. So I think what I'm gonna do is just stretch this shape. It's kind of weird looking, but it's kind of cool. And Vegas in the 70s was like, all bets are off. So I think this could work. So what I'm gonna do is make these all into outlines so I can kind of clearly see my background. And I'm going to go to my layers panel and unlock my guides on top and move these up there with my guides. And I'm gonna make them a little skinnier, and I think I'll turn those like cyan blue, something so I can see them in a little bit of a different color so I don't get confused about my border. Okay, so now I kind of have a guide on where to go and what I'm doing, and that's nice. That makes me feel safe and less scared about where we're going with this. Especially because I'm trying to impress you people. What do you people want from me? Jeez! Haven't I given you enough? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's you that gave me everything. I feel like Bette Midler should be singing, I don't know, what's the Wings one? It's like something about flying on the wings of an eagle. You are the wind beneath my wings. Something
Beautiful.
like that.
So beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so that sign goes there. Perfect. We're getting there. All right, now I've unlocked my layer with all my little guides on, and this one that I'm going to do next is going to go up the side. It's going to be like one of those signs that goes vertically down. So I'm going to lock that, get onto my art layer, and I've been working on a new font, and I want to use it. It's called Santa Ana Sans, named after our beloved home, Santa Ana. And we're going to go Santa Ana Sans Regular. I think that's a good way. And I'm going to type in all caps, hello.
I didn't know that was the name. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Really nice. I am so inspired by the places and like art. Our designer, Arturo Jimenez, he just moved back to Santa Ana, and I'm so jealous because he's like downtown, right by downtown. He's like in the zone you want to be in for all of the coffee shops. Santa Ana is full of amazing coffee shops. They've got Hopper and Burr and Hidden House, and it's just like all my old jams, all my old stomping grounds. But I'm so jealous. But Santa Ana has incredible hand-painted signage everywhere. On the taco trucks, on the little Mexican bakeries, on just everything has amazing signage, and it's like aged and it hasn't been homogenized, and I absolutely love it around there, around like First Street and downtown area. So this font was kind of inspired by that. Some of that like no BS hand-painted signage that you see on the side that's got like a phone number or things like that. So we're going to throw that in there. And then I'm going to actually start making some real outlines. So I'm going to make this. Go back to my layers. I'm going to unlock this. I'm going to grab this shape because I want to actually use that. Paste it in front here. And kind of adjust it so that my little hat fits in there better. That's cool.
Oh, someone said our sound is low. Is that a lot of people that are hearing that? And then I'm going to go ahead and delete that anchor point. And I'm going to fill this, or maybe just outline it for now. Outline it with black. Okay. And I can adjust this shape a bit more later. And then I'm going to fill the background with white. And I'll move that behind my lettering. Okay, yeah, that's cool. And that will be one of my neon signs. I'll move that to the front. Command-Shift-Plus moves an object, whatever you have selected, all the way to the front, just the way that Command-Plus moves it ahead of 1 or 2 steps. I use it all the time. All about those shortcuts. Okay, so I'll move that all the way to the back, and you kind of can see my hierarchy now. I have these little signs starting to make their way around my board. And so if I'm going off the edge, I have to make sure I'm going to go to File, Document Setup, and I'm going to add a bleed. Because if you're printing off the edge, when the printer cuts the edge, they need a little bit of buffer room so that when they cut it, it doesn't cut off your design or get too close in or just a little bit off. So I'm going to add 1/8 inch borders all the way around. Usually that's plenty. And then I'm just going to make sure all of my colors bleed off the edge a bit. Okay, so that's looking cool. So now what I'm going to use is my offset path. I'm going to select an object because I want to make a dotted marquee line around my hello sign. So what I'm going to do is select that rectangle. I'm going to go to Object, Path, Offset Path, and I'm going to set it to, you can set the offset in inches or pixels or whatever you're comfortable with. I'm going to go like 0.9, 0.09. That looks good, and it'll preview it for you if you click preview on and off. And that looks good. And I'm going to change that to an outline. Okay, stay with me here. This is where it gets exciting. I'm going to up the stroke to like 4, and then I'm going to go to my stroke panel, and I'm going to make it a dashed line by just selecting this box. Then we change the cap to rounded, and we make the dash 12, but we make the gap 12, but we're going to make the dash only like 0.75. Marquee lights, baby.
And it's as easy as that. I want to make sure that my rounded corner is on too, because it had those corners. It was making those pointy, and we don't want that. So I'm just going to go corner, round, join. And that looks pretty good. I'm actually going to make this even a smaller dash because they're kind of ovalish, and I want them to be rounded circles. So let's go 0.5. Still too ovally. Let's go 0.4. Let's go 0.3. You can get pretty low. It's kind of crazy. And then the gap is a bit small. So let's go 6-point gap. Aha, yes. Yes. See how this is feeling Vegas-y? This is feeling good. I like this.
Ooh, yeah. I love it.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do offset path again. We're going to go copy. I'm going to select this shape. I'm going to go Command-C to copy, Command-F to paste in place. And I'm actually, instead of doing offset, I'm going to just click up a few on the top one, and it makes it look like there's a dimension behind my sign. Then I'm going to copy, paste in front again, go up 3 more, maybe 4 more. I'm going to remove the backfill, and I'm going to start bringing in a second color. What the hey? I'm going to go to my libraries. I have all of my Hoodzpah colors saved in a library just because it's easier to keep on brand, keep things looking consistent when you have a color palette, even for yourself. And I'm going to select, what colors do I want to use? I had one piece of inspiration that I was like, these colors are the mint, that one. Let's do that, like peach, and then like maybe this like, whatever this color is, steel teal, trademark it. And I'm going to start just kind of moving that up and over. And I'm going to change, let's say we have a 3-color print. I'm going to go ahead and bring some colors down here and test some things out. I'm going to make some squares. Actually, I'm going to make some circles so I can overlap them. Let's say I'm using this steel blue. And let's make sure we have a lighter color. We want contrast. I basically want a light color, a medium color, and a dark color, and I'm going to use those for my shades. So we're going to go teal green. I'm going to do maybe this light blue. Select the fill instead. Actually, let's go the peach. Let's go full peach. That's my lighter color. And then let's do a darker color. Let's move these to the front. The darker color can be black. Why not? Let's do it. That looks pretty cool. I might even adjust that later, but for now, that's good. Oh, the green's cool. Let's do the green. Let's make it our own. Okay, so, and I'm going to make this true black instead of 111. Okay, so these are my colors now. I'm going to go ahead and select this outline, this neon outline. That's going to be my, let's make that the green. And I might even go to this lighter green. We'll see how it pops against the black. It might be a little too dark. We're going to make the fill on this background the peach. And let's use the dark green as the outline as well. Yeah, that's cool. And then for this, I want this to look like a neon. So I think what I'm going to do is, right now it's just an outline. Let's change it to white, which I like to use an off-white. I think it looks really cool. Looks like kind of like a little bit of an ivory piece of paper. So I'm going to make a little background shape, fill that with an off-white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my neon border that I've made that I want to stand out a little bit better. I'm going to go Command-C, copy it, Command-B, paste it in back in the same exact place. Now I'm going to go Object. You know, we can do this 2 ways. I'm just going to increase the stroke first and turn it to that dark green. Let's try it this way first. This is kind of the cheat way. Turn it to that dark green, and it'll create the effect of an outline, even though they're both just monoline paths. So that's kind of like the first way you could do it. And I think it looks pretty good, honestly. So I'm going to go ahead and group my sign underneath. I'm just going to maybe, oh, that look good. So now it kind of looks like it's a bit raised over the sign and kind of like, you know, hovering over it. Because neon's usually like hovering on these little pokey stands. Like, let's make a little pokey stand. Fill that. And yeah, it's looking good. And now I'll just use my white arrow, which I use all the time, my direct select, and just kind of finesse that a bit. So let me turn off my guides layer and you can kind of see where we're going with this. Looks pretty cool.
It looks so cool.
Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm going to go ahead and group all this lettering so that it all stays together. And let it fit in there. And maybe we just go I'm going to option drag this down so I have a copy, but I'm going to outline this little cowboy hat, object, path, outline stroke. And that way I can fill it. And I'm going to fill this whole thing with our green. And we're going to start just playing around with our actual colors. I'm going to fill this with green. The hello will become the off-white or the paper background. And I'm going to make these marquee lights. I'm going to do those in the peach. Cool. And then what I'll do is, let's make some clouds. I think it'd be cool if it was like a kind of cloudy day in Vegas, which never happens, probably. They probably never see rain. So this is like a bit of a pipe dream, but I'm just kind of like freehanding with the pencil tool, which is kind of fun sometimes. And let's go ahead and I won't keep it that dotted pattern. I'll make it pink. I'll throw it in the background, like maybe like that. And I will select this little dotted marquee again, Command C. Actually, let's go ahead and just use offset path. Go up path, offset path, because I want to make another shape behind it that's a little bit bigger, 0.09, okay? And I'm going to fill that with the off-white and then do a stroke of green. We're just kind of making layers, adding interest. You know, a lot of these neon signs, it's more is more. And that's definitely my life motto. I love that, more is more. It's kind of design I like. So we're kind of just making it look like it's got a lot of lights and glitz and glamour and all that kind of stuff that you would see in Vegas. So I'm going to go ahead and just group this so that I can kind of keep working on it. I'm going to scale down my clouds a bit. Those are going to be kind of in the background. And we're getting somewhere. This is looking really good. I think I'm going to go ahead and move this down to its own background layer so that I don't have to worry about that. It can just be locked. Just click and drag with that little blue dot, lock that, and that's down there and it's good to go. And so I'll start moving this stuff around. I think this all needs to be a lot smaller if there's going to be any room for me to write literally anything. So we'll go ahead and do that. I think I will select this Howdy sign and make it a lot bigger. Can kind of overlap that other one and just kind of like come off the page a bit. And we'll create like maybe a couple of little poles that it would be standing on. So we have to remember our perspective. Right now our perspective is looking down a bit. So I wonder if I should adjust this a bit to be looking, or no, we're looking up. We're looking up at this sign. So I need to make sure that I'm doing that on all of my signs, that they're all kind of in the same perspective so it's not confusing. So I'll get my path up here. That's my outline. I'm going to go Command C, Command B, and back, and go 3 down. I think I did 3 or 4 down was kind of like what I was doing for this other one. And I'll fill that with the dark green. And we're just creating a little bit of perspective. And let's say that that's like jutting out from the side of a building maybe. So maybe we kind of move that out here. I'm going to use my white select tool and just grab everything on the side and pull it in a bit. It feels a bit too wide over there. And I'm going to make 2 more lines here that'll be like the post that would be holding this sign onto the building. Because it's one of those that runs along the building. Look at this. And I'm just using option drag to copy and drag things. And option drag, that's just a shortcut that's like saves you a ton of time. And then let's say we kind of create a few buildings, like just a few outlines maybe of like where buildings could be. And maybe they just stay outlines for now. But it's just kind of creating some spatial grounding to our illustration so it doesn't feel like it's floating. Okay, so I'm going to group these posts, maybe increase them to like 7, and I'm going to try to keep my weights consistent. Let's see how it goes. It's easier said than done sometimes. Okay, so that's looking cool. So let's try and do, it's about 107. Let's work till 130. What the hey, we're on a roll. So let's work on this, house it. I really like this. This is funky. I'm going to start with my pen tool and totally stop me from yammering on if there's any questions. Okay.
You're solid.
I have a tendency to yammer. And I think what I'll do is actually, I'm going to make these stems of this H. I think I'm going to make them individually on their own. I want them to be free floating so that I can create these other letters from from the key stems that I make for this H, because it's all about maximizing your pieces. And the way that a feature in a font feels less like an accident and more like intention is by repeating it. So if you only have like a feature once, it feels like an accident. So if you repeat that, it feels intentional. It feels like a plan. So let's say we've got this going on. I'm gonna go ahead and just swap that to fill. Option drag it, copy it over. And I'm using my white selection tool now, and I'm just going to select these top anchors by clicking and drawing a rectangle around them. And now I can just select those and drag them up. And I'm just gonna drag them up there. I've got my rulers open. If you don't have them open, you can go Command R. That's how you get your rulers. And I'm just gonna pull down some rulers, some guides, so that I can see where I'm going. So that's the top of my H. And that's kind of what we're doing here. Let's go ahead and make this crossbar. It's kind of rounded. Let's keep that. Maybe this goes out a bit further. And let's go like that. Can turn this layer off if we want to see how it's looking. Cool, looking good. Go up one. And I just like to start with a circle because O's are really hard to draw. Why make it harder? Start with a circle and then use your skew tools and do direct selects and kind of adjust from there. You know, you can select these anchor points, and maybe I want it to be a little bit more bottom heavy. So I select those 2 anchor points and I move them down a bit. Now it kind of has a funky look to it. And if I go Shift C, I can bring out these handles, maybe make it a little wider on the top. Things like that. I might skew it a bit too. So let's go to the skew tool. Ooh, where is that? I had to reset dump my preferences, and now I'm like, where is everything? Here we go, shear tool. That's what it's called. I'm gonna shear this. And now that I have my outside of my O, I wanna make the counter, which is a little negative space. So I'm gonna go Command C, Command F, a lot of repetition here, but those are your best friends, those copy and paste tools. And now I've got a perfectly centered O in the middle. I'll just fill in with white so you can see it. And if I just shift and scale that upwards, I can kind of move it around, and now I've got a nice HO. So we're on a roll here. I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna follow the path of my O for my W. And I'm gonna go like that. And I think I'm just gonna make 1/2 of the W. Nah, we'll do the whole thing. I was gonna say, we might have been able to repeat it, but it's on a skew, so maybe not. Well, let's try. Let's do it. This is my life. Just like, should I? Shouldn't I?
Question. Safisher? I think that's how you say it. I've been using Control+R for a ruler, but it doesn't seem to show like yours. Is there something I'm missing?
Okay, let's see. Command. It's Command instead of Control.
There it is.
Usually the key commands are always Command something. So it's hard to remember sometimes because they're so close to each other and they're so similar. But yeah, Command and then your shortcut key.
And Zach Beckman just came in.
What's up, Zach? How you doing? Tomorrow, we're taking off. It's been like a crazy hectic week with like clients and deadlines, and so we're taking off and we're gonna go float in the harbor with our blow-up inflatable raft.
Yes, raft.
So if you're in the Orange County area at the harbor, safely
bring your camera,
and you see a couple of people floating in a raft, flailing, dodging the ferry. That's us. That'll be us. Okay, so let me go ahead and fill this. I'm realizing I'm working with white on off-white. Very rude of me. So I'm gonna go ahead and just select everything, option drag to the left, and we can see where it's going. This is giving me Dr. Seuss vibes a little bit. This text, what do you think?
Oh, 100%. Like,
yeah. Oh, the places you'll go or whatever?
Yes, all the places you'll go. I love that book.
Everyone's favorite, you graduated college, here's a children's book gift.
I did not know that was a thing. It's really funny.
It is. It's actually, it's kind of nice. It's like, why forget your sense of wonder? Why not get a kid's book?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's looking good. The left-hand stem of this W is a bit thin, but also maybe it's cool that it's wonky, you know? Maybe that's part of the fun. But overall, I think it needs to be thicker. So we've got that. Maybe I'll bring in this stem so that you know. So usually that's what I do. I just kind of like draw on top of my sketch and then like pull an option to the side and then kind of start fine tuning. Everyone has their own way. That's my method to my madness. Go here. And this is kind of like a cool swash underline thing going on. I'm going to make it kind of go taper up a little bit, and then, ooh, maybe it should also follow the H. I can kind of like finesse it a bit. I always do this. I always start with it filled in and then I can't see anything. No, that won't work though. Let's go straight edge. We'll kind of figure out that end, but I need to finish it and I want it to kind of follow along the stroke that I've created on the base. So we'll go like this, create our little diagonal, go back to the top up here. And so I've gone too far with my handle. You can see if you just start again with your pen tool and just hold the shift key out, it'll start pulling out your handle. So do that. Just move that anchor point around with my direct select tool and just kind of get it organized in the right spot. That's pretty dang close. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that by just going I, shortcut is to the eyedropper, and selecting that W. And we'll kind of pull it to the side and adjust further where we can actually see what we're doing. But I can already tell I want this to be fatter. I'm just going to add an anchor point by going plus with my pen tool selected. And just keep tweaking. Okay. So I'm going to zoom out, select my S, option drag it, option shift drag to keep it in the exact same spot, because I like to make sure when I option drag everything, I'm holding shift so that everything goes at the exact same height it was when I started drawing it. And let's just keep tweaking here. This needs to be a little thinner down here, and this is a little bit awkward. Probably because I tried to cheat and not make an anchor point up here. So I'm going to just add an anchor point there. Definitely needs one. And that's looking good. What are you all in chat doing for your weekend? It's almost here. I hope you have TV shows to binge watch, recipes to make. We've been watching Black Sails. It's really intense, but it's also
so
really good.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
So good. So compelling.
It's graphic. At the beginning of every show, it's like mature. This is for mature audiences. And I'm mature, and I was like, dang, this is a lot. But it's really good if you can just kind of get past that. But Black Sails, it's really good. It's on Hulu. Oh, and I've been rewatching. I never got into this when it was on, probably because I was not born yet. But Taxi. Does anybody remember the show Taxi? If you saw it, it was probably on Nick at Night. Maybe Harvey Fonda's still in here. Harvey probably knows. It's about taxi drivers in New York, and it's got some of the greatest comedians from the 70s. It's pretty like feel-good, nice, slow-paced 70s TV to just kind of turn your brain off and relax to.
Donna wants to know, where do you find inspiration for your lettering styles? They're always so fun.
Donna, thank you. That's so nice. To be honest, it's usually when I'm driving. Like every time I'm driving, I'm like, there's this trailer park coming up with the most amazing sign, the Abraham Trailer Park. There's an Abraham Lincoln Trailer Park here. Or is it? It's next to the trailer park, and it's a storage place.
That's it.
But it's like, it's just a storage facility, but they've had the same sign that's from the 70s. And it's got so much personality. So I try to keep my eyes open when I'm driving and just look for new things that I haven't seen before. Because it's like, that's the stuff that no one else has probably seen because it's not on Pinterest. Or at least no one's noticing. And I'm always trying to find something that's not on Pinterest because I feel like everyone's looking on Pinterest. So I worry that we're all going to like be looking at the same thing, I guess. So I like to try to look in the world, places that I live.
Sounds like the beginning of a song.
Taking it to the streets. Is that a good one?
That works.
Taking it to the streets. Actually, any Bruce Springsteen song is like about a town. So maybe we'll just say one of the Boss's songs about a town. Okay. This is getting worse actually, but you guys see what I'm trying to do, right? This S's are so hard. And it's like, it's not helping that I'm trying to add a swash that shouldn't be there. But this is getting close. I'd love to get this last one done before 1:30. I like to give myself little like time limits. It helps you work fast and not get hung up. I was getting hung up on the S. I looked at the time and I said, we got to finish this. We got to finish at least this lettering. Okay, I'm going to go here. I'll fix that curve later. Don't worry, I see it. And I always use my smart guides. Some people think they're annoying. I think snap to grid is the most annoying thing, but having your smart guides on, I think is super handy. Saves me a lot of time of just like futzing and trying to find, you know. And then I'm just going to draw a rectangle for that crossbar. I might make it, actually, I should probably have it match the crossbar on the T. So let's make a little funky kind of like this instead. Tapered edge. There we go. We know design speak. Get this, get what I'm going to do here. Question mark, just a backward S, sort of. So I'm going to option drag that down, my S. I'm going to go to Object, Transform, Reflect, Vertical. So it flips like this. And we're going to say OK. And we're getting there. Now I'm going to skew. Shear. I'm going to shear. Got my shear tool. And I'm just getting my shapes basically there. Now if I go C, that'll take my, open up my cut tool. And I can just cut at these two anchor points and just remove this bottom part of my S. And I'm going to direct select these two and maybe these middle points and just kind of move them. And just start moving. Everything's a jerry rig. People think it's like, oh, so much time and careful deliberation went into this. And maybe, for me, it's just quick repetition.
Mark Perez wants to know if you ever dabble in UX or UI design.
Oh, Mark, what's up? No. I do a little bit of web design sometimes for clients, like if they really like, you know, if they like where we're going with the brand identity work and the collateral of like, you know, all the different packaging and print materials that we've made for them. Sometimes I'll say, okay, I'll hop in there and like work on the website, but I usually only work on like a few core style guide pages. So I'll like design a homepage, have Jenna review it because Jen is much better at like web, like user flow and, you know, where content should be and like what's user friendly. So I'll have her look at it and then she'll make the rest of it because she's like a lot better at that kind of thing. But man, web design is hard. People joke around, they're like, it's just a bunch of boxes and squares and rectangles. But I mean, you have to understand people and what is too much information and what's not enough space and what's too much space. Like I have a lot of respect for it because I feel like I can't do it. Maybe it's because I am a maximalist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I like a lot of clutter. And that's not necessarily nice when it comes to web design.
Zach Beckman wants to know if there's any goodies in the works for the shop.
Ooh, Zach, this might be a goodie. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. But I was thinking I really want to have some note cards to like write people. Write your friends for their birthday. Just say hi. Remind people that you're there. You love them. And so I was thinking, oh, it'd be fun to make note cards for myself. And if people like them, maybe I'll print a few extra. So maybe this will go in the shop.
And Jeremy Wilkins, what are some of your all-time favorite bands?
Okay, we've been watching so many music documentaries.
So many.
Rush, Black Sabbath. What else?
Oh,
Led Zeppelin.
Oh,
yeah. That one, yeah. I love Led Zeppelin.
We've seen a lot of the Pink Floyd ones.
A lot of the Pink Floyd ones. The Beatles one was good. I mean, I like all the bands that everyone likes, like the classic Beatles. Everyone loves the Beatles. It's like inhuman to say you don't love the Beatles. So the Beatles, love Led Zeppelin. I love how loud and fast, and it feels like classical music because, and that's metal's that way too. There's movements. It'll be like fast and loud, and then it'll like break it down, and it's like slow and like cathedral bells and like, you know, and I love that. So I like Zeppelin, but I still love my emo. So like I like a lot of the new emo bands too, like Turnover and Into It Over It. What have you been listening to, B? Oh, we've been listening to a lot of Ghost. If you like metal, melodic metal, it's really good.
Ghost. There's this band called Live a Lie. They have like 2 singles and
are they new? 2 singles?
Yeah, they're super new. They're super cool. I found them on Instagram and
oh, nice.
They're like so cool.
Oh, that's great.
They're like really young and cool, and they've got a lot of talent. If you like hardcore like metal kind of stuff.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of that. A lot of Ghost. Holy
B just
smoke.
like sits in the living room and plays Skyrim and listens to Ghost. It's a great way to be.
Yeah, it's just the perfect combination for me. Also, the new Slipknot album.
Slipknot cracks me up.
Okay.
I do not understand.
Oh, the new album you have to listen to it's different.
To me, and I think I'm a bit of a snob here.
Oh, but you didn't like old Slipknot things.
No,
yeah,
chat, please weigh in. Weigh in. Am I a snob? Because, okay, like when I was growing up, it was like Slipknot came out and it was like lame. Linkin Park, lame.
Okay,
like, if
Linkin
you
Park
liked,
and Slipknot are not the same.
but they were like Hot Topic bands.
Okay.
It's like,
I mean, just because Hot Topic sells a shirt of a band doesn't make it a Hot Topic band. It's not like they made that band.
It was like, to me, I put it with like insane clown posse. It was like,
okay, that's also its own thing.
Like,
I feel like
it felt so like, I don't know, something about it was so lame to me. Like when you think about like Black Sabbath.
And all the people who like it are crying right now.
Are they crying? Tell us, chat.
I'm crying.
Am I wrong or am I right? Did it feel like, I don't know. But when I was growing up, Carson Daly's TRL was you would like run home from the school bus to catch TRL. And people would vote for their favorite song, and then it would come on the top 10 countdown. And at this time, it was boy band mania. It was Christina Aguilera, it was Britney Spears, and then it was Backstreet Boys versus NSYNC, and you had to pick one. It's none of this. I love them both. You had to pick BSB or NSYNC.
Very big thing.
Yes.
Which is the part of school culture that I hated, because I liked a lot of different things on conflicting sides. So everyone was mad.
Yeah, you can't be well-rounded in high school. They want to put you in a box. But Korn somehow made it on the charts.
Slipknot rules. It says
okay,
it in here.
Chat says Slipknot rules. Who said it?
Spencer
Okay.
Walls.
Spencer Walls.
Iowa by Slipknot rules. Yes, Spencer.
Okay, well, maybe I'm wrong then. Maybe I'm out of touch. But I remember back in the day, Korn somehow managed to eke in to the top 10 countdown with Carson Daly amidst. It was like Korn, Limp Bizkit, and then it was just like all power pop girl and boy bands. And it just made me laugh, and I thought, good for them. How are they making this happen? Okay, we're getting somewhere. I'm going to make this actually the off-white background, but I'm going to add a stroke. A peach stroke. Go like that. Oh, this little point. I need to get that out of my shape because I don't want that in there. And I think I'll go ahead and go Command-C, Command-Back, Command-B for paste and back. And now I have a shape that I can move down and around. I'll fill that with this green, make that pop. Oh yeah, that's cool.
You're Backstreet Boys or NSYNC?
Oh my gosh. Okay, at the time,
yeah,
I think I was very NSYNC because Backstreet Boys felt kind of like
okay, we're
safe.
At least on the same page
yeah,
there.
Backstreet Boys felt like boys you could take to church. You know what I mean? Even though they all had dirty songs.
Yeah.
They all had songs that were like, push me up against a wall or some like BS that like 13-year-olds are listening to. It was so wild.
Oh my God.
Like, I don't even think we understood what they were saying.
No.
You know, like, I don't think we knew how
like,
sexual it was. Like,
what was it? Space Cowboys?
Space Cowboy was so bad.
So
it was
good.
No. I liked all the ballads. I was a cheese ball.
Okay.
But I liked NSYNC, and I liked but I also liked it. I Want It That Way. I would like run home from the school bus. Well, first you wait for the school bus to get out of sight. Casually walk. As soon as it's out of sight, dashing to the house because I would get home just in time for the #1 song because I had a 45-minute bus ride in Kentucky. And it was always like, did NSYNC make it to #1 with I Want It That Way? Did they or didn't they? And let me tell you, for like 32 weeks straight, they did.
Mark Bowden wants to know how we feel about Third Eye Blind.
Oh, I love Third Eye Blind. Doc knows this. Mark knows this. Third Eye Blind I miss alternative music from the 90s. Music in the 90s was just so feel-good alternative rock. Now when you say alternative, it's like, it's a dirty word to me. It's like alternative now means like, and this is going to come off wrong because I actually like this, but Machine Gun Kelly. I don't want to like him, but I do. Here's the thing. Or like that. It comes out, that's what I think of it when I think of alternative now, and it puts a sour taste in my mouth.
Wait, I thought you liked them.
I do, but I'm not proud of it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, got it.
It's like, I know it's catchy, but that being said, though, he's like teamed up with Travis Barker, and anything Travis Barker does, I'm okay with. That guy's so cool. He just loves to make music, and I love that he loves it that much.
Zach Beckman's 98 Degrees.
Oh,
Yeah.
Zach Beckman. All right, let's take it back to a time when Amy Hood was young, and let's see, I would have been like 12 on the school bus in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And whenever we would go on like field trips, everyone would bring their Discmans or like CD players.
Yeah.
And I would just listen to The Hardest Thing by 98 Degrees in my headphones and think about why Nate Belt didn't love me.
Nate Belt, if you're listening.
Nate, where are you? Actually, I think Nate married his high school sweetheart, which was like our friend Brittany Murphy, who's a lovely person. Brittany Murphy, I think that was her name.
It was like not to be confused with the.
Not with the Brittany Murphy. R.I.P.
Yeah.
But that's what I would do. I would just sit and listen to my sad 98 Degrees songs and think about how sad my life was. When you're that age, man, your world is so small and everything just hurts bigger. It feels like.
It does. Yeah, because it's so small.
Okay, I forgot to talk to you guys about what I'm doing. So let's just recap a little. I made my little posts for like, let's say that this sign is kind of like popping out of the ground in front of like maybe it's in front of a really cool like mid-century modern like overhang. Let's say that this is an overhang. Maybe it goes like this. This is like for creating some dimension for it. Like this is pink. And I've added some posts to the bottom of my sign. And then let's go down here. Just kind of creating little 3D pieces. Let's go here. And I'm going to get my pen tool, add a plus. Pen tool with the plus key. That helps me add something. And then on my little sign, I wanted it to show that light was shining down. So I added a little shine line. And I just drew a point. And I made it into a line, and it's just skinnier than the other line, and it's a taper. I just tapered it off so it looks like a shine. And you can taper it a ton. Like we could do this taper up here. See how it looks like a shine line?
Yeah.
See? Or we can do like a wider taper. Let's just keep that one for now. And I moved it a bit down because if the sun was coming from above, the shine would have a shadow right below the sign. Right here would be a shadow. So I started it down here instead of like up there because that's not realistic. That's realistic. Totally. I know what you're saying. This is making sense.
It makes sense.
All right, and then I'm grouping things as I go so that I kind of like, when I try to pick these things up later, they're all kind of together. So let's group this whole thing together, and then Command-Shift left bracket will move it all to the back of my layer. And yeah, it's looking good. Okay, so this overshoot, I just had an amazing idea. Let's like pull this overshoot like this. Let's group it together. I'm going to make this a little bit skinnier. I don't think it would be that. I want it to look like really big and in the air. So I'm going to adjust this. I'm going to move this up too so that it looks like it's going back into space. And I'm going to add bulb lights. You know how like, yeah, do you know what I'm talking about, right? Like I don't even know how to explain. But let's go white. And let's do, should we do a shine in each one? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to go Command-C. Command in front, paste in front. Command F, paste in front. Right. Now I'm going to get my cut tool. I'm just going to cut this upper right half round. Delete the rest. Select that little round. Move the fill to a stroke and make that peach. And then I'm going to taper the edge. A little shine, baby. A little shine.
Magic.
I'm going to group it. And I'm going to option drag a bulb down and to the left. And maybe I'll Command D and do that twice. So now I've got 3 bulbs in a row straight in a diagonal. I'm going to grab another row and just start kind of do the same. Go like that. And then go Command D to just duplicate. And then I'm just going to keep doing that. And actually I'll just kind of group these and start kind of like doing this. And just kind of copying them as groups. And then Command D. Command D is the shortcut to copy the thing that you just did. So if I option dragged, it'll copy that again. So Command D is really cool. It's a total time saver. And so if we zoom out, see how that's looking really cool and really like opulent Vegas. So now I'll copy a few more of these. Just bring them down here maybe. And we'll copy 2 of these. Probably only need 2 here. And it won't be perfect, but that's okay. I think it's kind of fun when things are a little imperfect. And we'll maybe go up with that as well. And got a few more in here too. maybe that. And I can kind of like eyeball these if they're looking like, oh, there's kind of like a gap here. I can kind of eyeball it a bit.
Important question from Jeremy Wilkins. Shape builder tool or Pathfinder?
Right. I'm old school, man, and that's embarrassing to say, but I grew up on the Pathfinder, and it's just, I'm used to it. But I did learn how to use Shape Builder, and it's a game changer. It really is. If you're doing like a lot of like cutting shapes, you know, subtracting from shapes, adding shapes together, I think that one probably is faster. But when I'm just like on my flow, you know how you have your flow, your workflow that you're used to, and when I'm like designing logos, I'm just used to Pathfinder tool. So I end up just naturally going there. But I know that I am of the minority now. I know that people prefer Shape Builder. Okay, so that is looking really cool. So if I remove my guides and turn off maybe some of these, I wonder if I can turn off the sketches. You can kind of see where we're going, and it looks pretty cool. We made good progress today.
Callum Jackson says make number block 64.
Number block.
Number blocks, BLOX 64. I don't know what that means, but that's what it says.
Callum, we'd love to know what you mean. We're completely lost. Okay, I'm going to just go back to my screen real quick, and I'm just going to I want to show you our progress for where we made it for today, because I think we made good progress. We lettered 3 different things, which is so cool. And I'll do view preview. I haven't done this in a while. I used to use this all the time. Let's see, is it pre-window? Of course, I'm trying to find something now, which I shouldn't. Okay, I don't even know where it is. I don't even know how to explain what I was trying to find then, but this is where we made it today. We did pretty good. We created a fun, and I'll move this over a bit so that my face isn't covering it, but we created this different signage types. We created some custom type. If you missed the beginning, this replay will be here for days, weeks, months to come, so feel free to rewatch it. I talk fast, and I apologize, but I like to work fast. Maybe replay it at half speed. Does YouTube allow for that? I'll improve. I'll get better at it. But yeah, I think we got to a great place today. I really appreciate everybody taking some time out of their lunch to hang out in their afternoon. Like I said, we're going to be off tomorrow, just boating in our poor man's yacht. As the listing said on the boat, it said, "This is a poor man's yacht." That's what one reviewer called it. And I just love that. When we were out there on the water the last time, everyone kept driving by and kind of laughing and being like, good job. You're
almost to the ocean.
Yeah, this one guy was like, "By any means necessary, girls." I love it. And he's like driving this beautiful, boat. And we were like, "Yep, just want to be on the water."
We belong here too.
Yeah, it was so fun. It was so fun. But I hope you all have fun on your weekend. I so appreciate you guys hanging out. We'll be doing this again. Maybe I'll finish up this card sometime this weekend. Whatever it is, you can hear about it on our social. We post all of our upcoming events and all of our new products there, all of our new fonts. So if you're interested, give us a follow. We're at Hoodzpah Design on pretty much everything, and our website is also hoodzpahdesign.com. So we're signing off today. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.